Hey guys, Ms. Smith here, and I am going to go through the notes for the first day of Unit 1, Lesson 3. And honestly, a lot of this stuff is not new. We did it in the first section, but it's just showing you how we can have different types of algebraic expressions and do some of the things that we've already done with them. So simplify, whether that be distributive property or combined like terms, and or evaluate expressions. So take a number that x equals, plug it in, and get a number answer. So up here in the box in the top page of the notes, we have some vocab. So if we look through this, algebraic expression, it says they're just combinations of constants and variables using typical operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We can see those with exponents and roots, and this is probably the new part for us in this section. We haven't really seen a lot of exponents and roots yet. But the other key to kind of remember is expressions do not have equal signs. Okay, as soon as we see an equal sign, that makes it an equation. Okay, so we've seen a lot of these already, but the addition in this section will be some exponents and roots. All right. So two things we typically do with expressions is simplify them and evaluate them. So these are kind of like the main two things we see with expressions. Simplifying, if we remember, anytime we see parentheses, that's when we use the distributive property, and then we're always also looking to see if there's any like terms that we can put together to make it look more simpler. Evaluating is a little bit different. It's when we have an expression and we want to find some number answer that it's equal to when we plug in a certain value of x. So we will go through both of these scenarios and really just going to go through a couple different examples. As I go through example 1 or exercise 1 and exercise 2, we will talk about how to actually do the math using some order of operations. And depending on the time of this video, I can also share my screen and show you how to punch it into the calculator. If we do not have time to do that in the video, I am sure your teacher in class will show that to you guys. So I'm going to zoom in here and look at the first exercise. It says, consider the simplified algebraic expression 4x squared plus 1. So one nice part about this is they already tell us it's simplified. So we don't have to do anything to make it simpler. And hopefully we recognize that because this is an x squared term and this is just a number. So these are not like terms and can't be combined. So it says describe the operations occurring within this expression and the order with which they occur. So if I take 4x squared plus 1 and we think about the order of operations, which maybe you guys remember this acronym. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is one way a lot of people remember it, PEMDAS. But this means that we're supposed to kind of deal with parentheses first. We don't have any parentheses here. So the next operation that we would look at would be exponents. So that would kind of be the first thing that we would deal with. And then this, so this stands for exponents. M and D stand for multiplication and division. And we always say in order from left to right. Sorry. Okay, so just because M comes first doesn't mean we do multiplication first. It's either or as we look in order from left to right in our expression. And then this is addition and subtraction. Same thing in order from left to right. Okay, so first thing we would do would be exponents. Then we see we have this multiplication here. So that would be the second piece that we do. And then the third piece would be the addition and subtraction. It's kind of hard to see when we're not inputting a number. So let's get to an example where we're actually evaluating. Raise this up a little bit. All right, so in B, it says evaluate this expression for the replacement value x equals -3 show each step in your calculation. So remember, I feel like maybe a lot of us as teachers have seen you guys maybe make some little mistakes on this in some of the homework and assessments we've had so far. This word evaluate means to plug in a value for X and simplify. So in our situation, our equation or expression says 4. We have x squared plus 1. So instead of keeping our x in this expression, we're substituting in -3. If I do that in a different color so you can see that actual substitution. Now, if we have time, I'll show you how to just type this into the calculator and it'll just give you a straight up answer. But if we follow these order of operations, again, the first thing we have to do is exponents. And this is important to have parentheses here, because if you were just to type -3 squared into a calculator, it's going to tell you it's -9. Okay? If you use parentheses, it's going to tell you the right answer, which is +9. Anytime we square a number, positive times a positive or a negative times a negative, the answer will always be negative. Okay, so exponents is our first step. Then we do our multiplication. So 4 times 9 is 36. And then the last thing we do is our addition, which gives us an answer of 37. Okay, so actually I'm going to share the calculator and show you guys how we can enter that here real quick. Okay, so if I enter in exactly what I plugged in, so I had 4, and then I used parentheses, and then we type in -3, we close the parentheses, and we want to square that, and then we had a +1, and I hit the enter button. Notice how it tells me the answer is 37. So as long as you type it in exactly how you write it, you should be able to use the calculator to get your response. Okay, so that's example 1. Let's go back to the notes. Okay, so scrolling down, this one probably looks a little bit more hectic to you because it's a fraction. And this is what we call a rational expression. And notice it says more complex because it is in fraction form. We don't, in general, like fractions ever. They're a little bit more confusing to us, and that's normal. But we'll talk about how to kind of break it down so that hopefully it makes sense. So a rational expression is one that looks like a fraction. So that's kind of a nice little reminder there for you. And it says, without using a calculator, find the value of the expression when x equals 3. So we'll do this without using a calculator, and then I will show you how to do it correctly on a calculator. And then we'll look at why this might not get us the right answer. Okay, so again, when we're substituting in, we have a fraction situation. So I'm just going to take the top, or the numerator, and every place I see an x, I'm going to hold the spot with a set of parentheses. Okay, on the bottom, I have x to the third minus 7. So in both those spots where I left them empty, where the x was, we're going to put in a +3. And then the easiest way to think about fractions is to simply look at the top and just think about this as an individual problem within itself. So if we're just going to do the top of this, I have multiplication, which I have to do first. So I have 4 times 3, which is 12. Then I still have this +3. And if I keep going, 12 plus 3 is 15. So if I break it up and look at it as kind of 2 individual problems, it might make it seem a little bit easier and doable. Same thing with the bottom. We have exponents. So if you guys don't know what 3 to the third power is, a lot of you might think real quick that it's 9, 3 times 3, but remember, exponents tell us how many times to multiply something by itself. So this really means 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27 minus 7. Okay, and then if we keep going, 27 minus 7 is just 20. And when we get to the final answer, this is where you have to double check. Even though we have one number on the numerator and one number in the bottom in the denominator, we still need to see if this can be reduced at all. Okay, so when we reduce it, what we're asking ourselves, is there any number that divides into both 15 and 20? And hopefully you guys are thinking 5. So 5 goes into 15 3 times, and 5 goes into 20 4 times. So my final answer is 3/4. So again, there is a way to type all of this original problem into a calculator. All right, so I'm going to show you that real quick again. So notice over here, the A over B all the way to the right, this is your fraction button. So if you hit it, notice it gives you a top or a numerator and the bottom a denominator. So in the top, our top of our fraction is 4. Then we had parentheses, 3, close the parentheses. Then we had a plus 3. And then in the bottom, we had parentheses, see if I can do this. And then we want, this is an x squared, but this is something to any other power. So notice how it just raises it, and you can type in or press the 3 so that it is 3 to the 3rd power. And then we want minus 7. So if we type it in exactly as is and hit the enter button, notice it tells us the answer is 0.75. Well, some of you might be saying, well, Ms. Smith, you said the answer was 3/4. If you click on this fraction button, it gives it to you in fraction form. If you want it in decimal form, you can click back off of it. This is just like the blue calculators that we have in school. It just takes a little bit more getting used to because it's got to use your mouse to punch in the numbers and stuff. Okay? All right. Let's just look at this last problem real quick. All right, so in this last one, this is more like a critiquing situation. It says, if a student entered the following into their calculator, it would give them the incorrect answer. Why? Well, here's the deal. If they enter all of this straight up in the calculator, this division sign is only showing this 3 divided by 3. This is what it would look like. It would look like 4 times 3 plus 3 divided by 3 to the 3rd, and then minus 7. That's not what it looked like when we wrote it out. Okay? So you have to be really careful when you type it into a calculator. You need to make sure that you put parentheses around your top part, your numerator, and your bottom part, so that everything that you want in the numerator is there, and then all of that is being divided by everything that you want in the denominator. Okay, so that's just a common mistake if you just type it straight in across, right? So that's why when we write it out like this, if we type it in exactly how we wrote it, then we should be good to go. And then the last part down here just asked if this was a simplify or evaluate problem. And hopefully we say evaluate since we actually plugged a number in for X and got a number answer. Okay. Hopefully there's no questions over that and that made sense, but if there are, you guys should have some time in class with your teachers to ask about that. But that is the first day of the 1-3 notes. All right. Yep, just trying to figure out how to stop sharing.